Hey, pal.
Hey, guys.
Big celebratory news for us today. 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I'm kind of proud about that. I don't know about you.
Me too, man. It's exciting to see those numbers just, starting to shoot up. And also remembering the days of when we were trying to steal people's cell phones to make them subscribers, just to reach 100.
Crazy.
It's quite a milestone. Eh?
It
Very
is. Cool. It is. And in the meantime, it's actually popped up to over 16,000. But anyway, the celebratory is for 15,000. We'll get to that a bit later on. First, I want to chat about the news out of Paris Air Show. Pretty interesting. Bit of a subdued event this year. And the WATS 2025. So all about training. We can have a chat about that, and then we'll get to the celebrations.
Sounds good, man. Lekker lineup this week.
Yeah. First, what should we jump into? I reckon Paris Air Show, which I've never been to.
No. I believe it's usually quite a spectacular event. More so from the manufacturer side, because that's when they get to fill up the order book, not so.
Yeah, it is. Which Airbus managed to do this year. Let's just give you some stats. The latest stats that I got. I know there was a big order from Riyadh for some 350s. It's not in these stats, but anyway, let's go through it here. Airbus total orders 21 billion US. Boeing orders 0. Largest single order SkyWest 60 Embraer 175s, and so that was the big thing. Boeing, all right, so they scaled back their presence at the event due to the Air India accident. We'll chat about that later on. We're not going to chat about the accident per se, but there's a bit of topic we can have a discussion about there. But Airbus pure dominance, unprecedented success with orders spanning all aircraft categories, with Boeing largely absent. And if you go back, how weird is it to have an air show like Paris Air Show, which is massive, and have the main two OEMs being Airbus and Embraer, as opposed to Airbus and Boeing. It's just so weird. And could be like that for a few more years to come, to be honest. We don't know what the aftermath of the accident's going to be, and it could very well affect Boeing for a few more years to come. So
I wonder, having thought about it as well, I mean, I think by and large, the accident didn't help Boeing's numbers there, but was it not also maybe because of the whole tariff issue?
It could have been. I mean,
maybe a bit of political, interference there as well, or influence, should we say? But Sham, not good for Boeing by any stretch of the imagination this year.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about the whole tariff thing, but that accident came at the worst possible time. And I suppose, when something big like that happens, it actually you don't think about all those other things. But you're right. Tariff definitely could be something there as well. SkyWest, it's a massive order for regional aircraft. So that's some E2s, 175s going there. There's a few which does look good, because speaking last week about that IATA report, it looked like the cargo market was going to be a bit subdued for years to come, but quite a few cargo aircraft made sales there, including the A350 freighters. And Airlink popped in there as well with some 195 E2s, which is good, 10 of them. So it's not a small order as well.
That was very exciting to see with the news from Airlink, because I think it was last week, there was a bit of news floating around that they were flirting with the longer haul market. It wasn't. The news was a bit sketchy on that, but nice to see that they've got some brand new equipment arriving in terms of E2s, and somewhat surprising about the A350 freighter. I didn't realize that that it actually
was a
gained
thing.
such popularity.
Yeah, well, there's no
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I thought it was still leaning towards the 747 freighters, but with the efficiency of this 350 and the larger focus on cost savings, it makes sense.
I don't think anyone's touching a Boeing product at the moment. It's just
it's all a little
dire
bit
straits. It really is. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, A350 freighters, you're going to see more of them around. And then just going back to what we said there about Airlink, it's pretty cool seeing the latest gen aircraft flying around your airspace.
Yeah, particularly for us SAFers, because we're not
You don't
used
see
to
it all the time.
We're not used to seeing new equipment on the block. I mean, it's going to be another 30 years before we see a Tesla cruising around, let alone
If ever.
Yeah. But yeah, some new Gen Aries, like you say, very exciting.
Some key quotes from the event. The Airbus CEO, he said, "It's an air show with a regrettable tragedy that has affected all of us." So yeah, very much subdued event. You didn't hear too much of it in the news. There wasn't that sort of vibey atmosphere that we've come to expect from air shows because of that. And I suppose that's going to continue in aviation for a while. It was a terrible accident there in India. And good event for Airbus nonetheless. We'll keep you posted on the whole Boeing story. I suppose that's only going to... It's probably going to get worse until it gets better.
Yeah.
But if the report then comes out and there is some sort of issue with that aircraft, or there was some sort of issue, going to be problems.
Yeah.
We don't know. So we're not going to speculate on it.
No, it's just one of those incidences where, I mean, there's just so much speculation and the different, opinions varying from, whether it could be pilot error to the actual aircraft itself. It's just wild.
I was going to talk about it later on, but I think because we've gone into the subject now, maybe we just run with it a bit.
Sure.
Let's jump into it. We're obviously proud of, it's our 15,000 subscriber show today, and that's like a very proud moment that I have. We've got there because we've been consistent, we've grinded away, we've made mistakes, and ultimately we've made good progress, particularly in the last sort of couple of years. The one thing we haven't done ever, and I'm pretty proud of this, is speculate on an accident before some form of investigation has been completed.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right to do that.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And you know what, Roo? There were some top-notch aviation channels that were speculating about this thing within hours, like big shots.
Yeah.
Okay? I call bullshit on that.
So I think it's just wait. You can't start to throw things like that out within like 24 hours of the event.
Look, you're saying I'm trying to keep you informed, so this is what we know so far. Well, why do we need to be so informed at that point? There was an accident. It was clear as mud that there was one survivor, but didn't look like there was going to be a survivor in that. And for me, it just comes across as opportunistic. It's algorithm, heavy, comment on this right now. You're going to get likes, subscribers, all the rest. And let's call a spade. That's why you do it. So you make a video, you want to get as many people to watch it, as many likes, as many new subscribers. It's hot on the news. Let's go and make a video about it. And we didn't. I'm happy. And we're not going to talk about what we think may have happened. We don't know.
Exactly.
But this opportunistic sort of era that we're in with, I'm going to jump onto YouTube or my channel and I'm going to formulate an opinion about something where people actually lost their lives. I think you need to wind your neck in a little bit on that side. And I'm not talking about little channels. These were big channels with big names in the industry.
Yeah.
That I think...
To put it into South African terms, it's not fucking Ayoba to capitalize on the algorithm on the back of such a tragedy.
Yeah.
I think that's
a
dick move.
You articulated that better than me. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
The only way I know how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. Should we carry on?
Let's do that.
All right. WATS 2025. Let's talk about training for a second. This came out of that big event. I've also never been to that. I think it's something I'm definitely going to go to in the future. But let's talk about a couple of things, because there's a few parallels here that you might find in what we've spoken about before. Aviation training industries experience its biggest transformation since the introduction of flight simulators. So at WATS 2025, nearly 300 training leaders from around the world gathered to discuss how AR, virtual reality, and new training methodologies are reshaping how we prepare pilots for the cockpits. This isn't just about new technology, it's about fundamentally challenging how we think about pilot competency and safety. So as you can see there, they're talking about a lot of the things that are very applicable to our time, I suppose. They did mention a regulatory reality check. Aviation training leaders, it's not just in South Africa, are frustrated, but not for the reasons you might think. The problem isn't bad regulations, it's inconsistent implementation and bureaucratic delays. All right, current regulations are actually pretty good, but the approval process is painfully slow.
Yes, we know.
And this is a problem around the world. So Kim James mentioned it on a pod I did with her 3 weeks ago. So she said that exact thing. It's the regulation is fine. It's just the implementation of it.
Yeah.
Then they went on to say there's a bit of an inspector lottery. Your training program's approval can depend entirely on which inspector reviews it. So this is Europe. I mean, it's happening, and this is
it's a worldwide.
It's a worldwide thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. Big data. Let's talk about this. We got to get Kim McCauley on L. Shout out to Kim. I'd like to chat to her about the data side. I know she's jacked up with this. Airlines are drowning in data but starving for insights. Every flight generates massive amounts of information, but most training departments can't turn that data into better training.
Yeah.
Huh?
And the reason for that is they don't really know what to do with that data.
Exactly.
Again, because there's, from what I can pick up, a little bit of, I want to say, wokeness.
Yeah.
Because of privacy issues. And
do you think that's what it is?
I don't know.
I mean, I also don't know. Look, there is a massive amount of data that you can collect, and we've done it. You collect all this stuff, and then you think, well, okay, now I need to use it for something, and it's not as straightforward as. And I suppose on the AR side, it's the same thing. You need the data in the AI to make the decisions. You know what I mean? If you think about
the AI to be more correct.
Exactly. So if you think about aviation, it's not going to be a case of your large language model making a decision for an airline. It's going to be data of actual events that you've collected over time that you train a system to help you manage the future, make decisions for the future. So data is was a big topic there, a big part of the discussion. The third topic, AI in the classroom. AI isn't replacing flight instructors, it's making them superhuman. AI is personalizing training at a scale never seen before. So the point here that they're making is the instructors and I suppose anyone in the industry that's using AI is using it to supplement their existing knowledge, which is, of course, what we thought we would do. But there's no real talk at this stage that the instructor's not going to have a job in 6 months' time because it's going to be done by AI. But an instructor using AI might take an instructor's job who's not using AI.
Yeah, kind of gives you a little bit of a superpower there if you're using it the right way, for sure.
For sure. And the last one is virtual reality beyond the hype. So VR was targeted, this is sort of pre-AI, as like the next thing in aviation. We were going to have these headsets on, and we were going to have virtual classrooms, and we were going to do our simulator training with a headset on. You're not going to need a simulator. That ain't going to happen. First of all, the tech is just not there for that to work yet. It just isn't. It's not. If you've used one in a game, it's cool, but it's not real enough.
Yeah.
Yet. So there's still a way to go, but there is now a push. They're saying, look, VR can save money. I know Embraer have a wonderful system. You put on a, what's the Facebook one called? Quest.
Quest, yeah.
Quest, yeah. Put on the Quest 3, and you can do your full walk around with this headset on. And, you know, for something like that, it's awesome because you don't have to have the aircraft.
Yeah.
But replacing a simulator right now,
no,
I don't see that happening. Yeah. And for a few reasons, the main one I'm actually going to discuss with you later. I've got something I want to bring up to you and throw it at you and see what you think about it. But it's the experience of being in a sim more than the sim itself. So it's the pressure, the sound, the moving around, as opposed to the little event itself.
Yeah, I think you're basically touching on exactly what I was going to say. Is what I was thinking is why that wouldn't replace the whole thing. But yeah, we'll touch on that later.
And sorry, one last point I want to get to there is Gen Z in the cockpit. So the newest generation of pilots learn differently. They think differently, and they bring unique strengths and challenges to aviation training. Tech savvy but experience poor. Gen Z pilots adapt quickly to glass cockpits but may lack hands-on mechanical understanding. Different learning styles. They prefer interactive multimedia over traditional lecture-based instruction. Attention span considerations, basically, they don't have them. So if you can fit your 3-hour e-learning course into a 60-minute short, then you're good. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of these guys' retention.
Yeah.
Apparently, Gen Z not the sharpest when it comes to radio work. So can you imagine why? Because they don't talk on the flipping phone.
Exactly. It's a real thing. We see it. There's no personal interaction nowadays. So
there's no socializing in the traditional form. So there's none of that sort of backwards and forwards communication.
Yeah, the warning signs about that being a thing have been there for a while, and you're definitely seeing the effects of it now. How are they going to fix that?
Yeah, I suppose it's of all the things here, you know, you've got the AR and the VR, that's quite exciting. But of all the things here of challenges, that's the one that sort of struck the most because we've seen it. And then it starts to realize, but hang on, so it's not that the standard is dropping. It's a generational thing that, you know, they're not used to dialing a number. Hey, Paul, how are you doing? What's happening? You know, they just don't do that. So the less you speak with people, I suppose the harder it is to deal with air traffic control calls. And you see a lot of high anxiety around it. Yeah. So it's, as an example, in simulator training, you know, you would go through the correct sequence of events, and you know, you must call clearance delivery. You must give them, you know, who you are, what you are, where you're going, flight level. It's like a pretty basic, but it takes quite a while for a lot of guys to get that right, and generational.
No, naturally. I mean, I remember, like, you know, in your early days of ab initio training, the anxiety with radio work definitely there, but you wouldn't expect to see it with, you know, pilots that have got 200, 300, 400, 500 hours.
No.
And I think, you know, that also makes you think, like, as a parent, generationally, like, you know, you're going to have to watch out for that sort of thing in your own kids.
Exactly.
And like, kind of guard against that and get them comfortable with talking to people.
Exactly. But it is a thing.
Yeah.
And depends on what you're doing. But obviously in aviation, as a pilot, you still have to speak to people, and you have to do it in a professional way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a bigger part of training than we thought. So, interesting.
I like it. It's nice to know, and also comforting that they are paying attention to the fact that, yes, AI is you know, being used and introduced into the aviation training industry and going to be a part of it. But the overall threat that's in the back of everyone's minds that it's going to come and take my job, that's not what intended. By the introduction of it.
I also think that that's also a bit overblown by the algorithm again. Hey, I will take your job in 2 years' time. That's it's a catch. But it is going to change things. There's no doubt about that. It's going to change things significantly in our industry, right? And in every industry, I suppose, and something to keep an eye on and see how we adapt in the industry. But the immediate challenges are things like that, radio communication. It's an identified, and I'm glad there are these teams of people that do identify these things, put it all together, and then make the general public aware of it. That is useful information that we're now passing on the podcast. You don't necessarily need to pass on information as to why you think that the Air India prank happened.
Exactly.
Right. So,
No, very exciting, man.
Point taken.
And download it.
Yeah. Right. Let's get to the main part of the show. 15,000 subscribers. That's pretty cool. Well done, bro.
Hey, guys. We've got a phrase that we normally tell each other.
We can't say it now. So I asked people yesterday to throw some comments on social media. And I picked up a few. I've got a little thing I put in the background here, but I couldn't put all of them on here because, first of all, I couldn't fit them in. And second of all, a lot of people only commented this morning. By that stage, I'd already put this little presentation together. So if your name's not up here, I do apologize. Craig Wood, congratulations. Brian and Ryan, outstanding efforts. Your value and impact on the aviation industry is unmeasurable. Thank you, Craig. Caroline, you can be damn proud of yourselves. Oki Stain, going like an Airbus. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks, Oki.
Greg Smith, congrats, guys. Andrew Evans, awesomeness. Keep it up. Content is evolving nicely. Thanks, Andy. We'll talk about that a bit more now. Some high impact stories here. Fran, when I was not flying, it always managed to keep me in touch with the aviation world. I loved the laughs and the giggles it gave me, and it was also my inspiration to get back into flying. You reminded me of what I was missing and why I was missing it. That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Thank you, Fran. That's pretty cool. Craig again, I've spent many hours on the treadmill or spinning, being educated and entertained by your podcast. You have helped me. You have helped so many entrepreneurs. Mark de Jong, as someone who's just completed his comm, this is such an exciting time to be starting in the industry. Opportunities are available now that anyone pre-COVID couldn't have dreamt of. 100% Mark. Jayan Magic, this was a great podcast. As a new young commercial pilot, I enjoy tuning in whenever I drive to work. It goes on and on. Some more community voices here. Bank Angle Check. Really enjoyed this podcast. Thanks for the effort. Now's the time to get the seat we want before the music stops. For sure.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, well said. George, valuable tips for all levels of aviation. Thank you, Brian. A good pilot is always learning. Walter, after this video, I quickly created. This was a video I put up the other day about the notebook LM.
Oh, yes.
It says, after this video, I quickly created my own with some aircraft manuals, curate and additional high-speed flying characteristics of the aircraft I fly. Needless to say, mind blown. There's one from last week. Depression is real. It's important that you guys talk about it on your platform. You don't know who and how this can help. 100% we will keep talking about that. And then Colin Jenkinson, brilliant on-point discussion from a chap who knows. Thanks, Colin. I'm going to jump into Facebook here quickly because there's a whole lot that came through. Mateman Trav, congratulations, brother. That's a huge accomplishment. And your consistent efforts don't go unnoticed. Thank you, Trav. Gerrit Venter, well done, gents. Kevin Parrock, well done, guys. Kevin has consistently been our top fan on our Facebook page for the last 3 years running.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Uncle Kev.
It's listed here on the thing as top fan, and literally it's been like that for 3 years.
Awesome.
Come on, guys, challenge Kevin a bit. Yeah, he's a bit like the Springboks at the moment. He just wins everything. Richard Leroux, well done to this hard-working duo. Mark Mason, well done, gents. A lot of hard work and effort went into getting this far. I'm looking forward to seeing how much further you take the podcast. Thanks, Mike. Ian Findley. Ian says, wow, seems just the other month you were celebrating 1,000 subscribers. Brian and Ryan, you lads have done incredibly well and persevered through the tenebrious, Ian's got these words, there's a tenebrious period of the great pandemic, and with your okay, I'm not even going to try to read that. You've only grown your subscriber base, but you've also managed to maintain that. He's written these words on purpose. All right, if you want to see Ian's post, you just go onto our Facebook page and check it out there. Subscribe, like, and share it with someone.
I think I know why I did that. There was an episode we spoke about Ian and the emails we used to get from him at Saks with the words.
Keep up the sanguine and sagacious approach. No, see, so go onto our Facebook page and go and check it out. And when you're there, like, subscribe, please. And then from my old man, I'm very proud of you guys. Well done. Keep it up. We are going to keep it up. It's something that is evolving. You know, there's a 7-year cycle with things, and we're in season 7 of the Bryan Air podcast. Started in 2019, so it's 6 years old, but going into, the 7th, and of course season 7. And there's been, I suppose, and I think a few people have noticed a sort of evolving nature of the show, and I want to explain why, because I think it's quite important to explain why it's changed a little bit and where it's going. And I'd like to think it's changing a bit because we're maturing in our approach to it, but we've also evolved a bit in terms of the knowledge that we've gained along the way. And to not hide the fact, when we started the show, when I started the show pre-COVID, it was going to be an interview-based type of podcast. I quickly realized that it's quite difficult to do it that way. When COVID came along, I said to you guys, let's talk about news. We can comment on news, and there'll be an endless supply of it, so we don't have to worry about creating our own content. We can literally let a journalist create something, and we can comment on it. Yeah. And that was what we've been doing, and it worked really well for us. If we hadn't taken that approach, I don't think we would have gotten this far. We certainly would have run out of things to say. But as time's gone on and we've evolved, in our personal lives and in our own sort of education, we've now got to the point where, hang on, I'm not so much relying on these journalists because let's face it, a lot of the aviation journalists don't know what the hell they're talking about in the first place.
That's for sure.
So to find a good story is difficult and flipping expensive, because if you want to follow a sharp aviation journalist, you're going to pay a lot of money for it, because the free ones are pretty average. So we're starting to sort of, I would like to think, formulate our own ideas and maybe expand on concepts a bit further. And, a little tagline that I'm throwing in there, welcome to the Bryan Air podcast, leading the aviation conversation from the flight deck and beyond, because it's the and beyond side that kind of interests me. That's aimed not at aviators only. It's aimed at sort of anyone that might be looking to expand their own professional career. But obviously the core of the show is from the flight deck, and it's an aviation podcast. And because we've been speaking about it and on this for a long time, we've now developed some keen ideas that we want to express to you guys. And that's what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis. And we're going to probably suck a bit at the beginning, but we'll get better. And I'm enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying going a little bit deeper into, instead of having 50 stories we speak about every week, there'll be less, and we'll dive a bit deeper into each topic. It's a bit more of a challenge for us. And I hope it's more engaging for you guys that are listening. That's the whole point, is to add value. If you're taking 40 minutes to listen to this pod today, I am not going to be the guy that is going to waste that 40 minutes for you. You are going to get value. Yeah. And because time is money, time is value. You could be spending this time with your family. You're busy listening to us blabber on. Yeah. So I want to make sure that you're getting bang for your buck there, and you are hearing some good content and some good gen, and hopefully influencing both your professional life in the flight deck, or if you're not in the flight deck, that's great too, and your personal life as well, because this is a holistic thing. And I know you very focused on the sort of more holistic side, and you're going to hear more about that from Ryan in the coming months. But yeah,
that's where I'd
good times, man.
Maybe jump in on this so it goes a bit. It's also, I think, for me personally, the journey of being on this podcast for the last nearly 5 years, and being able to sort of grow with you on the show has been awesome. I think what it's also done for someone who's come out of the flight deck with no real what's the word for it? Credibility in following another avenue and sort of trying to like navigate a new path. You suffer from like that lack of confidence in being able to pursue other things. And I think doing the show has also made one realize that if you do something long enough, you can gain that credibility and the ability to actually talk about other things.
Yes.
Which is where I think we struggled with in the beginning, was like, it has to be aviation based because that's what that's where your specific knowledge lies. But being involved in this and being able to deep dive and learn from each other, you quickly realize that's not the case. And it does give you the chance and the freedom to be able to talk about other things.
Yeah.
And branch out. So I'm looking forward to that. And showing what else we have to offer apart from just aviation specific stuff.
That's 100%. And that goes for both of us, not just you. The credibility if you're going to go and spend 7 years talking about one particular subject, you've earned the credibility. So I feel like we have earned the credibility, and obviously being heavily involved in the training industry and that now for the past, going on 7 years as well. I've got shit to say, man. I'm going to say. Did you listen to? This might get a bit philosophical for a second, so if you want to click off now, you can. But did you listen to? This is aimed at you now. A Joe Rogan podcast many years ago with Guy Ritchie speaking about I'll leave this link in the show notes. Well worth a listen. Well worth a listen for you. I want you to actually go listen to it afterwards, but I'm going to give you the gist of it now. A little 15-minute clip that he has, and it's about him wearing a suit and why he wears a suit. But he also speaks about a story, and I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. But this story, if it was explained the way Guy Ritchie explained it, maybe I would be religious. But anyway, what he said was, do you know the story of the prodigal son? Do you know the story of the prodigal son? You know of it, but you don't know
of it. Yeah, okay. I can't say I've committed that one to memory.
All right. So let me explain it to you quickly. And Guy Ritchie explains it probably better than what I'm going to explain it. So go click on that link and have a listen. But what he says, or what the story is, just to summarize it quickly, father has two sons, an older son and a younger son. He says to the two sons, who wants to go and spend their inheritance? And the younger son puts up his hand and says, well, Dad, I want to go and spend it. So off the younger son goes, and he spends a long time doing things that he shouldn't be, drinking, snorting cocaine, doing all sorts of bad things. Okay. I'm probably butchering the Bible version now. But he spends many years doing this, and eventually, after getting a bit bored and tired of this lifestyle he had developed, he ends up feeding food to pigs. Now, he can't even eat that food himself, so he's busy starving. And eventually goes back to his father and says, Dad, will you take me back? And the father says, absolutely. Now, he hasn't met the son yet, but he agrees to take him back. And not just that, he actually throws a massive feast for the younger son who's coming back. And the older son, who was loyal to the father this whole time, says, hey, Dad, that's not really fair here. The younger son went off and spent all the money. And I've stayed here with you. I've been loyal to you. I've supported you through your journey. And now you, after all these years, you're just going to welcome the younger son back. So the father says, don't worry about that. You're a good boy. You just carry on. And the father then goes off to meet the prodigal son. And he says, he meets him and says, you were lost and now you are found. And that's the basic story. And why is that important, and why is it important to you and us and everyone, is that according to Guy Ritchie in this story, who is a storyteller, he says, you are the father. And the older son is your intellect, your knowledge. That's always with you. And your younger son is the adventurous side, the adventurous part of yourself that goes out into the world to discover things and buy things and do things, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. And ultimately, it's that journey that is important, because you inevitably end up coming back to yourself. And by coming back to yourself, you discover yourself. And why I'm telling this story now is because, take us in this podcast room trying to decide, what do we do? Where do we take the podcast? How do we manage our lives going forward? A lot of it is been the journey. Yeah. I'm going to burn my fingers on that one. I'm going to try this and it doesn't work. And ultimately, you need to do those things to end up back with yourself. And that's how you discover yourself. And I found that very interesting. And I'm going to segue into another story right now. And it's something that I've been thinking about that I wanted to speak about on the show. And it's something a lot of aviators might have thought about already. In the simulator, when you fly in a simulator, for the non-aviators listening, you normally get thrown a scenario. And the scenario can range from difficult right up to something pretty basic. But I'm going to throw a little scenario at you to think about, and I'm going to try and parallel it to a bit of a life lesson here, because in your profession, you spend so much time thinking about airplanes, you eat, breathe, and sleep this career. And I think everyone is sort of the same. It doesn't matter what career you're in, but it becomes such a big part of your life. Yeah. And we need to use the good things from aviation or your profession and use them in your life. And there's a lot of people that speak about this in a very eloquent way. But you take a little scenario in a simulator situation. You get airborne out of Cape Town off runway 19. You're flying out towards False Bay. And through 2,000 feet or so, you pick up on the right-hand engine, your number 2 engine, you have an engine fire. Okay? And at a few seconds later on your number 1 engine, you have an engine flameout. So you got a flameout on the left engine and a fire on the right engine. And this is a very nice little thinking exercise to give a crew member, maybe someone that's transitioning to a command position, or someone that you're trying to force to think a little bit more. So what you find a lot of the time, the pilots with inexperience immediately want to fall back on what they've learned. And what they have learned is that if there's a fire, you do memory items. And by doing the memory items, you need to fight that fire. So we shut that engine down, and then we fire 1 or 2 bottles, and then boom, we hopefully get that fire out. And a lot of the inexperienced pilots, through no fault of their own, because they don't have the experience yet, say, okay, flame out here, fire here, I'm going to do the dangerous one first. I need to get rid of this fire so that the plane can carry on flying. But in so doing, by fighting the fire first, you shut down your only engine that was potentially working, because with the fire, that engine could still be producing thrust, which in this scenario it is. So you've shut down the engine with the fire, and then suddenly the cogs start clicking over there in your head, and you realize, oh no, now I do not have any thrust pushing me forward. You become a glider, and you've got a few options, 30 degrees either side in front of you, where are we going to go? And if you're over False Bay or something there, you're pretty limited onto what you can do. Maybe you're going to ditch in the ocean or something like that. Then I thought, okay, how can we tie this into a bit of a life lesson here? How often in life have you got a situation that is your engine fire, which could be something major going on, a health issue, a financial issue, and in your mind, you get this idea that I need to sort this out, because once I sort this out, then I can concentrate on these other things. So you sort of narrow your vision on, I need to put this fire out. Okay, and in so doing, you lose all situational awareness of everything else that's going on, and your life starts falling apart a little bit. And the flame out could be a relationship with your best mate, a relationship with your husband, your wife, creating a simple budget for your finances. You might need to do that first before you go and fight the fire in your life. Particularly if you have a mate or someone that you speak to regularly, you haven't spoken to them in a long time, and now you're dealing with this big situation. As I'll get hold of Ryan, but I need to sort this stuff out first. And your focus and attention goes boom. And I wonder how many people are dealing with something like that right now. And it's something I just thought about the other day, driving home after simulator training, to say, how can we tie this into a bit of a life lesson there, where, maybe you need to sort your flame out first. Get that engine restarted. Okay, because in this scenario, what we want from the captain here, the new captain, is to say, all right, the engine's on fire, that's bad, but it's still producing thrust. So I'm going to keep that engine running. Engine number 1 has had a flame out, which is not good, but I can possibly restart that engine. So let's fire up the APU. Let's start engine number 1. Engine number 1 starts. Great. Now you can go and shut down engine number 2 with the fire.
I love that. That is just such a relevant and very, very applicable analogy and scenario and parallel to, I think, what most people are dealing with. Yeah. Great insight.
It's never normally one thing.
Yeah. No, it is. It can be a culmination of 10,
it's
20,
always a culmination.
Absolutely.
Right? You have, when's your tire going to go flat on your car? It's just after you've spent, 20 grand doing something else, or you lose your job, and then now you have to pay for this, and that. So you did that, didn't you? You paid for tires on your car. 2 weeks later, your job at Saks was. So it's always, tends to come in pairs. You always have this major problem, and then you have all these other sort of peripheral issues that tend to pop up. But I think those peripheral issues are popping up because your focus is so bang down the middle on, I've got to fix this fire. And you get fixated on it, and then you lose all awareness of everything else that's going on.
If you dive deep into it as well, I think it makes you realize that you have to slow yourself down.
Sit on your hands a bit.
Sit your hand, yeah. Typical thing that we tell everyone in emergency: just slow down, take a deep breath, and what's it? Assess action and then manage it. I love that. It's very, very cool. Very, very relevant.
Yeah, so I was trying to think. Obviously that prodigal son one with that tied in. The journey is important, and on the journey you're going to come across things in your life that are difficult, and you need help. I had Franz Smith on here last week talking about Captain Circle, pilot mental health. It's a big topic. It's something that we need to speak about more. But it's a major thing that everyone is dealing with.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a case of taking a step back and kind of assessing your situation and running a little bit of a risk management model yourself and say, okay, what do I need to do here? And why this is, really struck a chord with me is I've learned more about my profession since I've been sitting behind two pilots in a simulator than I ever did sitting in the front flying that airplane.
Yeah.
And 10 times, because you sit there and you wonder about how, and you can tell this guy is going to make the wrong decision based on the speed at which he's doing it, based on a whole bunch. You can tell before it's happened. And it's very easy to sit behind someone and then say, this guy's going to make that error. But very difficult when you're in the front there to make sure you don't make that error. When you're driving, when you're the captain of your ship, when you yourself running through life, difficult to tell, am I making an error with this thing? And we have to, in some way, take a step back, watch yourself a little bit as an instructor and say, hang on, this guy needs a bit of guidance here. Let's prompt something here. Because we fall back on what we know. We fall back on this. I've done this before. This is how I'm going to correct it. And boom, boom, boom. And now you're stuck. And just going back to that analogy, if you do shut both those engines down, it's the same thing that happens in life where you're not dead and buried. You've got options. You've got 30 degrees either side. You're going to find somewhere and go and land this airplane. But you're limited in options.
Yeah, your options then suck a bit more.
They suck. And you have to land. You then have to fix the airplane, refuel it, and then get airborne again.
Yeah.
Whereas another option might just be, don't have to react so quickly and take a step back, fix the flame out, then deal with the fire. So, yeah, a bit philosophical today.
No, but it's cool. I mean, it's very cool. Very, very, sometimes these discussions on the pod are, I think, the ones that are most essential and very, very relevant. It's that type of chat that you have with your mate that sometimes you do it over a beer. Sometimes you'd have it in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Not a beer in the cockpit, though.
Yeah. That much.
Yeah, but I think hopefully it's important to someone that's listening, but also important for us to articulate it yourself and actually be able to speak about it, because you do go through these cycles in life that everyone does, and you reach a point where you have to innovate. You have to take the next step and innovate, and that taking the next step is not always as easy as what people think. And you need to bring in new ideas, new thoughts, and that to get there. And that's something that's very relevant to everyone. So I hope you found that valuable, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Thank you for supporting us through the journey.
Yeah, from my side to all 15,000 plus subscribers now, thanks for the support. Thanks for backing us up and taking in our content. We love you all, and looking forward to the next milestone, cuz.
The young sons are back home.